It began with a sound that shouldn't exist, the sound of loyalty shattering. Officer Miller laughed, a nervous, embarrassed sound that died instantly in the warm afternoon air. "Max, what is wrong with you?" He stared at his K9 partner, a 90-pound German shepherd trained to perfection, a dog that had faced gunfire without flinching. And this dog, this extension of his own will, was doing the unthinkable. He was baring his teeth, not at a suspect, not at a weapon. He was baring his teeth at Officer Miller's own partner. The scene was impossible. A sun-drenched community fair, the smell of popcorn and cotton candy, laughter from a nearby bouncy castle, and in the middle of it all, this triangle of tension. Officer Miller, his K9, Max, and Officer Davis, Miller's partner, his brother in blue. Davis was kneeling, his face a perfect mask of friendly cop, offering a red balloon to a small red-haired girl. And Max was standing over her, a dark, trembling wall of muscle and fur protecting the girl by threatening the other officer. "Max, heel, stand down!" Miller commanded. His voice was sharp, laced with the humiliation of a handler whose tool was malfunctioning. But the dog refused. He didn't just disobey. He ignored Miller completely. His body was rigid, his eyes locked on Officer Davis, a deep, guttural growl vibrating the air. The crowd around them had gone quiet. The whispers started. "What's wrong with that dog?" "He's attacking the other cop. Is he broken?" Phones were already out, recording the moment a Hero K9 apparently snapped. Miller's face was burning. He tugged the harness. "Max, that's Davis. You know him. Heel!" The dog dug his claws into the grass. He would not move. He would not back down. He wasn't just disobeying an order, he was rejecting it. And in that moment, no one could understand. Why? Why would $1 million police asset, a dog celebrated for his discipline, suddenly turn on one of his own? Why was a trained K9, a symbol of order, protecting an innocent child from another cop? No one knew that in that very second, the dog wasn't just growling. He was delivering a verdict. Just 1 hour earlier, it had been a perfect day. The community safety fair was a PR dream. Officer Miller and Max were the stars. Max was in ambassador mode. His ears were up, his tongue lolling in a happy, harmless pant. He soaked up the attention, letting children tug his ears, posing for photos. Miller watched, his heart swelling with pride. He loved this dog. He loved this job. Max was more than a partner. He was family. His instincts were flawless. That's when he saw the girl. Her name, he'd learn later, was Sophie. She was maybe 6 years old, with bright red hair and eyes that seemed too big for her face. She stood back, clutching a worn-out teddy bear, just watching Max. Miller, sensing her shyness, had knelt. "Hey there, you want to pet him? His name is Max. He's very friendly." The girl, Sophie, hesitated. Then, slowly, she'd walked forward. Max, in turn, had stood up, walked to her, and gently nudged her hand with his nose. A tiny, brilliant smile had broken out on her face. The peace was broken by a booming, cheerful voice. "Miller, don't tell me you're letting this furball do all the work." Officer Davis strode over, sunglasses perched on his head, his smile wide and charismatic. Davis was the cool cop, the one who joked with dispatch, the one who always knew the right thing to say. He and Miller were partners, the classic pair. Miller, the serious, focused K9 handler. Davis, the charming, easygoing street cop. They were, Miller had always said, brothers. "Hey, Davis, just winning hearts and minds," Miller replied, standing up to clap his partner on the back. Davis laughed, then turned his attention to the little girl. "Well, hello there, princess. And who are you?" Sophie shied back, hiding behind Miller's leg. "She's a little shy," Miller said. "Oh, we can't have that," Davis said, his voice dropping to a syrupy, sweet tone. He crouched down, pulling a red balloon from a nearby vendor's display. "Look what I've got. You like balloons?" He took one step toward her, and the world changed. The instant Davis moved toward the child, Max transformed. It wasn't a bark. It wasn't a lunge. It was a shift. So fast, Miller almost missed it. 1 second, Max was a friendly ambassador. The next, he was a lethal weapon system. His body went rigid, his ears pinned back, his lip curled, revealing a white flash of canine. He moved, not with aggression, but with absolute cold purpose. He placed his body directly between Officer Davis and the little girl, and he growled. The tension was a living thing. It was a glass bubble that had enveloped the three of them, and it was about to shatter. "Miller, I'm serious," Davis said, his patience visibly gone. "The dog is a menace. He's scaring the kid. Get him out of here now." Davis took an aggressive step toward Miller, as if to shove the dog aside himself. "No!" It wasn't a command. It was a roar. Max barked, a sound so loud and ferocious it made people in the crowd stumble backward. It wasn't a warning anymore. It was a promise. Miller froze. He looked at his dog. The fur on Max's back was standing straight up. He was trembling, not from fear, but from a desperate, controlled rage. He was ready to fight. He was ready to die to keep Davis away from this child. The handler and Miller screamed, "This is a lawsuit. This is the end of my career." But the partner in him whispered, "He's never done this. Not ever. Why now? Why Davis?" "Max, what is it?" Miller whispered, his voice desperate. "What do you see?" Max didn't break his stare. He didn't look at Miller. He just waited. He had drawn a line in the grass. And then, the entire conflict, the entire mystery, was broken by the smallest voice Miller had ever heard. "He's bad." It was a whisper, a tiny, terrified squeak. Miller's heart stopped. He looked down. The little girl, Sophie, was no longer hiding. She had her tiny fists clenched, and she was staring, not at the dog, but at the man. Miller crouched, his entire world narrowing to the child. "What did you say, sweetheart? Who's bad?" "The doggy." He pointed at Max. "Is Max bad?" She shook her head, her eyes flooding with tears. "No," she whispered. And she lifted a trembling, tiny finger. She pointed past the dog, past the harness, past Miller's entire career. She pointed directly at the smiling face of Officer Davis. Him. The world didn't just go silent. It ceased to exist. The sounds of the fair, the crowd, the radio on Miller's shoulder, it all vanished. There was only the girl's pointing finger. Miller looked at the finger. He looked at his partner's face, and he watched the friendly cop mask disintegrate. The color drained from Officer Davis's face. The smile evaporated, replaced by a twitching sneer. "Miller, listen," Davis stammered, his voice suddenly a few octaves higher. "The kid's crazy. She's just scared of the dog. She's confused. She doesn't know what she's saying." "She doesn't look confused," Miller said. His own voice was a low rumble he didn't recognize. Without thinking, he had moved. He was now standing next to his dog, a single unified wall. He and Max were on the same side, and Officer Davis was on the other. "Sweetheart," Miller said, his voice gentle but urgent, "why do you say he's bad?" What do you mean? The tears finally broke, rolling down Sophie's cheeks. He's the man from the park, she sobbed. The man with the shiny badge. The same one. Miller felt his blood turn to ice. The same one? What? He tried to make me get in his car, she cried. Last week, he said he was a policeman. He said he knew my mommy. He said it was a secret game. But he scared me. So I ran. And that's him. A cold, dark void opened in Miller's stomach. He remembered. The bolo, the all-points bulletin, the internal memo, a string of attempted abductions, a suspect impersonating an officer, a friendly man in his 30s, charismatic, targeting children in parks. They had been looking for a fake, a costume, a stolen badge. They had never, not for 1 second, thought to look at one of their own. Miller's mind flashed through the past 2 weeks. The patrol logs, the locations of the attempts, the parks, the neighborhoods. Davis had been on patrol in every single one of those locations. He took overtime, he'd said, just trying to help out. Miller felt sick. He was going to vomit right here in front of everyone. He looked at the man he ate breakfast with, the man who had been at his house for barbecues, the man he called brother, and he saw a monster. Davis wasn't smiling anymore. His eyes were no longer cold. They were on fire with trapped, desperate panic. He wasn't looking at Miller. He wasn't looking at the girl. He was looking at Max, and he was calculating his odds. Miller, listen to me, Davis said, holding his hands up, the universal calm down gesture. It's a misunderstanding. The kid is traumatized. She's mixing things up. Is she? Miller said. He was standing up straight now, his hand moving, not to his gun, but to his radio. Don't move, Davis. Miller, don't be a fool, Davis hissed, his voice dropping to a venomous whisper. Are you going to trust a mutt and a crazy little kid over me? Over your partner? Miller looked down at Max. The dog was still trembling, still ready. Then he looked at Sophie, who was hiding behind his leg, her small hands clutching his pants. He had 2 partners. One had a badge. One had a collar. One of them had just lied. The other one was incapable of it. He's not a mutt, Miller said, his voice flat. He's my partner. He keyed his radio. Dispatch, I need units at the fairgrounds. Code 1031. He never finished the call. Davis knew it was over. He made his choice. He's rabid, Davis screamed at the crowd. The dog's rabid. He's attacking. He shoved a bystander, a woman with a stroller, directly into Miller's path. It was a diversion. He was running. He sprinted for the exit, for the parking lot, for freedom. He would be gone in seconds. But he forgot about Max. Miller didn't even need to think. The bond, the training, it was pure reflex. Max, apprehend! The sound of the command was like a gunshot. Max had been waiting. He exploded from his position. He was a 90-pound missile of black and tan. The crowd screamed as the dog, no longer a protector but a pursuer, crossed 30 feet of grass in less than 2 seconds. He didn't go for the leg. He didn't go for the arm. He launched himself, a perfectly trained body check, slamming his entire weight into the center of Davis's back. Sound, a hard thud, a woof of air being knocked out. Davis hit the pavement. Hard. Before he could even think to draw his weapon, before he could even get his breath back, Max was on him. Not biting, not mauling, pinning. The dog stood over the fallen officer, his barks a deafening, triumphant, furious sound. It's over. The silence that followed was heavier than the barks had been. Sirens wailed in the distance. They were coming. Miller, his heart shattered into a million pieces, walked slowly, mechanically, toward the man on the ground. He didn't look at Davis. He looked at Max. "Good boy," he whispered. "Stand." Max backed off, but his eyes never left Davis. Miller knelt. He pulled out his handcuffs. The click of the metal echoed in the silence. He cuffed his own partner. "Officer Davis," Miller said, his voice breaking on every word, "you are under arrest for attempted kidnapping. You have the right to remain silent." The other officers arrived. The looks on their faces, confusion, disbelief, horror. They saw Davis in cuffs. They saw Miller, his face like stone. They saw the K9 sitting calmly, panting as if he'd just finished a training exercise. And they saw the little girl, still clutching her teddy bear. Miller didn't care about them. He didn't care about the investigation that would follow, the internal affairs, the questions, the betrayal. He walked back to Sophie. He knelt, so he was eye level. "You," he said, his voice thick with emotion, "are the bravest person I have ever met. You did so good. You were so brave." Max, his duty done, patted over. The vicious dog was gone. The ambassador was back. He sat down and gently, very gently, nudged the girl's hand. She unfurled her fist, and she stroked his head. "Good doggy," she whispered. "Yeah," Miller said, resting his hand on Max's head, next to hers. "The best." People spend their lives learning to trust symbols. The uniform, the badge, the official car, the friendly smile. We are taught that these things mean safe. But that day, an entire town, an entire police force, learned a chilling, vital lesson. The symbols can lie. The uniform can be a costume. The smile can be a mask. Sometimes, the only one who can see the monster hiding in plain sight isn't human at all. He's the partner who cannot be fooled by words. The guardian who trusts, not in titles, but in the truth. The hero whose loyalty isn't to the system, but to the innocent.